Hello, welcome to Live's channel. Today we will learn about the explosive revelation that threatens to destroy everything Xander and Sarah have been working toward, as Kate Roberts orchestrates the most cunning psychological manipulation Salem has ever witnessed to force Philip Kyriakis into confessing the devastating truth that could shatter multiple lives forever. Kate's master plan unfolds. Kate Roberts has spent decades perfecting the art of manipulation, but her latest scheme represents perhaps her most sophisticated psychological warfare yet. Recognizing that Philip's protective instincts toward Xander stem from genuine brotherly loyalty rather than weakness, Kate carefully constructs a multi-layered trap designed to exploit her son's deepest emotional vulnerabilities. She begins by subtly questioning Philip's integrity in front of other family members, suggesting that his silence makes him complicit in Xander's deception of Sarah, the woman who trusted them both implicitly. The cunning matriarch understands that Philip's greatest weakness has always been his desperate need for approval and validation from those he loves most. Kate methodically plants seeds of doubt about whether his protection of Xander is truly serving anyone's best interests, particularly Sarah's right to know the complete truth about her husband's violent capabilities. She reminds Philip of how devastated Sarah was when she initially suspected Xander of the attack, emphasizing the emotional turmoil that ongoing deception continues to inflict upon the innocent woman who deserves honesty above all else. The psychological pressure campaign. Kate's manipulation reaches new heights of sophistication as she employs carefully timed emotional pressure points that gradually erode Philip's resolve. She orchestrates seemingly innocent encounters where Philip witnesses Sarah's continued struggle with trust issues in her marriage, watching as Sarah questions whether she can ever fully believe Xander again despite her attempts to move forward. Kate ensures Philip observes these moments of vulnerability, knowing that his protective instincts toward Sarah will create internal conflict about maintaining his silence. The experienced schemer also leverages Philip's complicated relationship with his own moral compass, reminding him of past instances where his deception caused irreparable harm to relationships he valued. Kate carefully references Philip's history of lies and manipulations that ultimately destroyed his previous romantic partnerships, suggesting that his current silence represents a continuation of the same destructive patterns that have isolated him from genuine connection throughout his adult life. Strategic emotional manipulation. Understanding that direct confrontation would only strengthen Philip's defensive barriers, Kate employs reverse psychology and carefully orchestrated guilt trips that slowly chip away at his emotional armor. She begins praising Philip's recent attempts at honesty in other aspects of his life, suggesting that his protection of Xander represents a regression into the old patterns of deception that have historically defined their family's dysfunctional dynamics. Kate emphasizes how proud she feels when Philip demonstrates integrity, creating a stark contrast with his current participation in covering up Xander's violent behavior. The master manipulator also introduces strategic information about Sarah's private conversations, revealing details about how Sarah continues to question her own judgment and intuition regarding Xander's character. Kate shares carefully selected quotes from Sarah's most vulnerable moments, describing how the young woman blames herself for ever doubting Xander and worries that her suspicions reveal fundamental character flaws in her own personality. These revelations create immense psychological pressure on Philip, who begins to realize that his silence is actively contributing to Sarah's self-doubt and emotional suffering. The breaking point. Kate's psychological campaign reaches its climax during a carefully orchestrated family gathering where she ensures Philip witnesses the full extent of Sarah's internal struggle with trust and self-blame. The scene unfolds as Sarah discusses her marriage therapy plans with other family members, expressing deep regret for ever suspecting Xander of violence and questioning whether her tendency toward suspicion indicates something fundamentally wrong with her character. Kate watches as Philip's composure begins to crack, recognizing that his protective instincts toward Sarah are finally overwhelming his loyalty to Xander. The final trigger comes when Kate reveals that Sarah has been having nightmares about the attack, not because she fears Xander, but because she feels guilty for having suspected him initially. Kate explains how Sarah wakes up crying, convinced that her suspicions reveal a lack of faith that makes her unworthy of Xander's love and forgiveness. This information proves too much for Philip's conscience to bear, as he realizes that his silence is directly contributing to Sarah's psychological torment and self-blame. Philip's devastating confession. Unable to withstand the mounting psychological pressure, Philip finally breaks down and confesses the complete truth to Kate, admitting that Xander did indeed brutally attack him during their confrontation. The confession pours out of Philip in a torrent of guilt and anguish, as he describes the actual events of that fateful night and explains his motivations for protecting Xander despite the pain and violence he endured. Philip reveals intimate details about the attack, including Xander's state of rage and the specific threats he made during the assault, information that Kate mentally catalogs for future use against her longtime adversary. Philip's emotional breakdown continues as he explains his complex feelings about the situation, describing how his desire to rebuild their brotherly relationship motivated his decision to lie to police and family members about the attack. He admits to Kate that he has been struggling with the moral implications of his deception, particularly as he watches Sarah blame herself for doubting Xander's character. The confession becomes increasingly detailed as Philip describes his internal conflict between loyalty to Xander and his growing concern for Sarah's emotional well-being and right to know the truth about her husband's violent tendencies. The ripple effects begin. Kate's manipulation succeeds beyond her wildest expectations, but the consequences begin to spiral far beyond her control as Philip's confession sets in motion a series of devastating revelations that threaten to destroy multiple relationships simultaneously. Armed with the complete truth, Kate now faces the strategic decision of how to deploy this explosive information for maximum impact against Xander while potentially preserving her relationship with Philip, who trusted her with his most vulnerable confession. The psychological aftermath of Philip's breakdown becomes immediately apparent as he realizes the magnitude of what he has revealed to his manipulative mother. Philip begins to understand that Kate orchestrated the entire emotional campaign specifically to extract this confession, recognizing that his mother's expressions of concern for Sarah's well-being were calculated moves in a larger game designed to destroy Xander's chances of rebuilding his marriage and reputation within the Kyriakis family structure. Kate's victory and future plans. With Philip's confession secured, Kate Roberts finds herself in the position of ultimate power over Xander's fate, possessing the exact evidence she needs to ensure that he faces serious legal consequences for the violent assault. Kate begins planning her next moves carefully, considering whether to immediately expose Xander's lies to Sarah and the authorities or to use the information as leverage in ongoing family business disputes and power struggles within the Kyriakis empire. The master manipulator savors her psychological victory over both Xander and Philip, recognizing that she has successfully turned her own son into an unwitting weapon against the man she considers a threat to family stability and honor. Kate's satisfaction with her successful manipulation campaign represents the culmination of years of strategic planning and emotional warfare, positioning her as the ultimate power broker in determining Xander and Sarah's future happiness and Xander's legal jeopardy for his violent actions against his own brother. Tuesday, September 24, 2025, Stephanie's words push Alex toward a life-changing choice. Today in Days of Our Lives, Salem once again becomes the stage where unresolved tensions, deep family fractures, and the weight of pride clash head-on with the enduring hope for reconciliation. On this particular day, the spotlight falls on Stephanie and Alex, two people bound not only by affection but also by an unspoken understanding of how difficult it is to navigate family conflicts that threaten to tear one apart from within. A morning filled with distraction. The episode begins with Stephanie moving about her living room, carefully packing up boxes and rearranging items with the focus of someone who knows exactly what she wants done before the day is over. Her calm but purposeful energy is a stark contrast to the heavy, almost suffocating silence that lingers in the room from Alex's presence. Alex is there, sitting nearby, but he is far from present in spirit. His eyes are locked not on the world around him but on the glowing screen of his phone. At first, one might assume he has fallen into the trap of modern distraction, the endless pull of notifications, scrolling, and numbing diversions. But today, his obsession has nothing to do with fleeting entertainment. His gaze is fixed on something heavier, something far more personal, an article covering the ongoing lawsuit that has fractured his family ties and left him estranged from those he once thought he could rely on. The article doesn't just summarize legal battles, it reopens old wounds. Each line he reads reinforces the painful truth that his cousins remain distant, their bond broken and their trust seemingly beyond repair. Stephanie notices what Alex refuses to admit. Stephanie, while busy with her tasks, cannot help but notice the way Alex is sunk into himself. She has always had a sharp eye for when someone is wrestling with inner turmoil, and this morning is no different. She teases lightly at first, suggesting with a hint of exasperation that Alex's focus on his phone resembles nothing more than the habits of someone addicted to social media. But beneath her half-smile and light-hearted remark lies genuine concern. She knows that Alex's silence isn't the silence of laziness or boredom. It's the silence of someone carrying the crushing weight of being misunderstood, cut off, and desperately wishing for a way back into the fold. Her words break the stillness of the room. Maybe instead of scrolling through endless posts and daydreaming about what could have been, you should be thinking about what can still be fixed. A gentle push toward reconciliation. Stephanie doesn't deliver her advice as a lecture. She speaks with warmth, her voice tinged with a gentle firmness that makes it impossible for Alex to ignore her. What she offers him is not judgment but perspective, the idea that running away from pain by burying oneself in distractions will never provide the healing he seeks. She reminds him, with quiet conviction, that reconciliation doesn't begin with miracles or grand gestures. Sometimes, it starts with something as simple as showing up. For Alex, that means one thing: reaching out to Xander. Xander, his cousin, is no easy man to face. Their history is rocky, layered with conflicts, misunderstandings, and the kind of sharp words that cut deeper than anyone likes to admit. But Stephanie knows that beneath the bitterness there remains a bond of blood, a thread that can be repaired if Alex finds the courage to try. Her suggestion is deceptively simple: stop staring at the screen and take a step into reality. Go find Xander. Talk. Apologize. Begin. Alex's reaction. For a moment, Alex says nothing. The weight of Stephanie's words lingers in the air, and it's clear he's battling with himself. Pride tells him to resist, to argue back, to insist that the rift is too wide to close. Fear warns him that rejection may be worse than silence. And yet, deep down, he knows she is right. The phone in his hand suddenly feels heavier, like a chain holding him back from moving forward. Slowly, almost reluctantly, he lowers it and looks at Stephanie with a mixture of gratitude and apprehension. Stephanie, ever perceptive, doesn't push further. She simply smiles at him, her expression softening the tension. It's a smile that says, "You can do this." And with that, Alex makes his decision. He rises from his seat, pockets his phone, and leaves. His destination is uncertain, but his intent is clear: he will try. For the first time in far too long, he will try to mend what has been broken. The day Stephanie smiles. This seemingly small moment carries weight far greater than either of them realize. Stephanie's smile, simple though it may appear, marks the beginning of a turning point. For Alex, it is the encouragement he needed to confront the storm he has been avoiding. For Stephanie, it is the quiet satisfaction of knowing that sometimes the right words, spoken at the right time, can change the course of someone's life. What makes this scene so poignant is not just the dialogue, but the underlying themes it draws upon. Family conflicts, estrangements, and the stubborn pride that keeps people apart are challenges familiar to many viewers. In Alex's struggle, audiences see echoes of their own lives, the fights that stretched too long, the loved ones pushed away, the words left unsaid. Stephanie's advice isn't revolutionary, but it is profoundly true. Reconciliation begins with the willingness to act. Looking ahead. As Alex walks out of Stephanie's living room, the air is thick with anticipation. Will he find Xander? And if he does, will Xander be ready to listen? Or will the confrontation lead only to more heartache and deeper divides? No matter what lies ahead, this episode has set the stage for a new chapter. Alex's decision to step out of his comfort zone and face the conflict head-on promises drama, tension, and perhaps even redemption. Stephanie may not realize it yet, but her role as the quiet voice of reason could prove pivotal not only for Alex's healing but also for the fragile threads that connect the family as a whole. Final thoughts. Tuesday's episode of Days of Our Lives reminds us that the path to healing is rarely dramatic in its beginning. Often, it starts in the most ordinary of places, a living room, a casual conversation, a smile. Yet from those small beginnings can come the courage to face great storms.